Hello,
Hello,
we are back again with another episode of Sugar Free
Sugar-Free
Gaming,
Gaming.
and it has been about 2 or 3 weeks since we last played.
So I don't know what's happening,
All right.
except that we're making a poem for somebody.
Yes, so we are in Act 2. This is our first poem of Act 2, and we now have to decide whether if we're going to write a poem for Natsuki or Yuri.
So who are we gonna kill off next? Here we go.
Who do you want to write for?
I don't even know anymore. Oh, my girl Yuri. Let's go with Yuri.
All right.
All right.
So hers.
Oh, we got more of Yuri anyway.
All right.
All right, here we go. I literally forgot the voices. Okay.
Hi again, Shea. Glad to see you didn't run away from us. No, don't worry. Oh, I fucking hate this voice. I should have picked like my normal voice for my character.
Oh well.
This might be a little strange for me, but I at least keep my word. Well, I'm back at the literature club. I was the last to come in, so everyone else is already hanging out.
Wasn't it just like soft?
Yeah.
Thanks for keeping your promise, Shea.
Did you see her face glitch?
No, I didn't. I didn't
You
even see
missed
that.
it?
No, I didn't even see that. Dang it. I hope this isn't too overwhelming of a commitment for you. Making you dive headfirst into literature when you're not accustomed to it. Oh! No!
Come on. Like, he deserves any slack. You already had to be dragged here by Monica. I don't know if you plan to just come here and hang out or what. But if you don't take us seriously, then you won't see the end of it. Damn. Get out of the fucking way. Damn. It's glitching out a lot harder now than it did last time we played Act 2.
Mm-hmm. Something about what?
Damn, Monica! Natsuki finds herself stuck between saying Monica and manga. Manga is literature! Swiftly defeated, Natsuki plops back to her seat. This is... How is this girl accidentally being so cute? She even picked out a book she thinks I'll like, despite me not reading much. Yuri. I feel like the music keeps changing key. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Yuri's face is already buried in a book. I can't help but notice her intense expression, like she was waiting for this chance. Meanwhile, Natsuki is rummaging around in the closet. I'm really curious to talk to Yuri a little bit more, but at the same time, I would feel bad for distracting her from reading. I catch a glimpse of the cover of her book. It looks like the same book that she lent to me. More than that, she seems to be on the first few pages. Oh gosh.
Crap. What did you say? What did you say that for?
I think she noticed me looking at her. She sneaks another glance at me and our eyes meet for a split second. But that only makes her... Fuck. That only makes her hide her face deeper in her book. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that seems very familiar.
I was just spacing out. I muttered this, sensing I made her uncomfortable.
It's a very engaging and relatable story.
Is that so? What's the story about anyway?
Well...
I look at the cover of the book. The book is titled Portrait of Markov. There's an ominous-looking eye symbol on the front cover.
Basically, it's about this religious camp that was turned into a human experiment prison. And the people trapped there have this treat that turns them into killing machines and lust for blood. But the facility gets even worse, and they start selectively breeding people by cutting off their limbs and fixing them to... that might be a little bit of a spoiler. But anyway, I'm really into it. Book, I mean. Not the thing about the limbs. Oh, dang, she's a cannibal.
That's kind of dark, isn't it? Yuri made it sound like it was going to be a nice story, so that dark turn came out from nowhere.
Are you not a fan of that sort of thing, Shea?
No, it's not that. I mean, I can definitely enjoy those kinds of stories, so don't worry.
I hope so.
Yeah, I totally forgot that Yuri's into those things. She's so shy and reclusive on the outside, and her mind seems to be completely different.
It's just that this kind of story is the kind that challenges you to look at life from a strange new perspective. When horrible things happen, not just because someone wants you to be evil. Dang! But because the world is full of horrible people, and we're all worthless anyway.
God damn.
Okay. Stop! I'm rambling, aren't I?
I didn't even skip through that last thing it auto skipped.
If so, they sound like suddenly or something like that,
Mhm.
like tons of L's and Y's. Not again. I'm sorry. Hey, don't. Oh, that's
Hey,
it.
don't apologize. I haven't lost interest or anything.
Well, I guess it's alright then. But I feel like I should let you know that I have this problem. I eat. I hope.
Damn! Let me read!
I gotta forget the.
In fact, I might as well get started reading it right. Oh, shit.
Yes. I mean, you don't have to, but.
What are you saying? Let me just get the book. I quickly retrieved the book that I had put into my bag. Alright, is it fine if we sit here, right? I slip into the seat next to Yuri.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You seem a little apprehensive.
I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want you to. It's just something I'm not very used to. That is, reading in company with someone.
I see. Well, just tell me if I end up distracting you or anything.
Alright.
I open the book and start the prologue. I soon understand what Yuri means about reading in company. It's as if I can feel her presence over my shoulder as I read. Yuri takes her left arm and holds the left side of the book between her thumb and her forefinger. Ah! I do the same with my right arm on the right side of the book. That way, I turn a page and Yuri slides it under her thumb after it flips to her side. But in holding it like this, we're huddled even closer together than before. It's actually kind of distracting me. It's as if I can feel the warmth of Yuri's face, and she's in the corner of my vision.
Are you ready?
Eh?
Turn the page.
Ah, sorry. I think I got a bit distracted for a second. I glance over at Yuri's face again, and our eyes meet. I don't know how I'll be able to keep up with her.
That's okay. You're not as used to reading, right? I don't mind being patient if it takes you a bit longer. It's probably the least I can do. Since you've been so patient with me.
Yeah, thanks. We continue reading. Yuri no longer asks me if I'm ready to turn the page. Instead, I just assume she finishes the page before me, so I turn it by my own volition. We continue to read the first chapter in silence. Even so, Yuri's been a little fidgety ever since we started reading. You can rest if you're feeling sick or something. Your breathing is a little...
My breathing?
Yuri puts her hands on her chest as if to feel her heartbeat.
I didn't even notice. Anyway, I'm fine. I just need some water. She needs some blood.
Alright, don't push yourself. Damn, I was hoping something spooky.
I know. I'm wondering if something happened. Like a body just falls out the ceiling or something.
Yuri stands up and practically rushes out of the classroom. What on earth was that about? Shea? Did something happen just now? I have no idea. Yuri was acting a little strange, I guess. So you don't know anything. Damn.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't say I do. Are you worried about her? Oh, no. Fuck Yuri. Not really. I was just making sure you didn't do anything to her. No, nothing. Don't worry. I believe you, silly. Yuri just does this sometimes, so it's nothing alarming. Alright, if you say so. Anyway, why don't we start with sharing our poems with each other? Eh? Shouldn't we wait for Yuri? Well, she might be a while, so I just figured we'd get started without her.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah. I was just asking. I stand up. I make a mental note of where I left off in the book, then slip it back into my bag. I'm about to do the dialogue for everyone this episode because
I can still talk.
Yuri is gone.
Dang, you're right. I can't even. I'm not supposed to I'm just gonna. Okay, I'm over here now.
Amanda, you have to hear the glitchiness.
Okay. I'll just keep eating my pizza. Here we go.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have some food ASMR. Alright, who should we talk to first?
Natsuki.
Natsuki?
Mm-hmm.
I told Natsuki I was interested in her poems yesterday. What? It's probably only fair if I shared mine with her first. Ooh, look how cute she is. Let me move this fucking stupid cursor out of the way. Shea, if you're not going to take this club seriously, then go home. Okay. Natsuki, what the fuck did I do? What? Harsh. What, you expected me to believe that you're actually... What? I can't read. You expect me to believe that you actually put effort into this? Do you think I'm stupid? I'm not a writer. I thought that said I'm not white. Maybe it's not very good, but yeah, I did put in effort.
She has good work.
She does.
No, she doesn't.
We all start somewhere, right? If you're still proud of this first poem, are you still proud of the first poem you ever wrote? Then I'd like to read it. Damn, pizza breath. Jeez. Painful to think about it?
That's so annoying.
Fine. Well, sorry. You'll get better anyway. I'd tell you what to improve,
okay.
But you're better off just trying again.
Okay, just kill yourself
Dumb,
better next time.
Stupid. Ignorant. Fair enough. Well, to each their own, I guess. Anyway, I guess I gotta share mine now. Knowing you'll probably think it's stupid. Eagles can...
God!
The greatest poem of all time. Oh, I'm so glad I get to read this a second time. Mm-hmm. Let me just... Alright, my throat's nice and wet. Eagles can fly. A Natsuki original. Monkeys can climb. Crickets can leap. Horses can race. Owls can seek. Cheetahs can run. Eagles can fly. People can try. But that's about it.
You're supposed to snap. That's a poem.
Beautiful.
That was
Yeah. I told you that you weren't going to take or like it. I like it. What?
With a period.
It sucked.
I wrote that walking to this class.
Just be honest. I Why are you so convinced that I wouldn't like it? Well, because everyone in high school thinks that writing has to be all sophisticated and stuff. So people don't even take my writing seriously. Ugh, water though. But isn't the point of poems for people to express themselves? Your writing style wouldn't make your message any less valid. Yes, exactly! I like when it's easy to read, but it hits you hard. Like in this poem. Seeing everyone around you do great things can be really disheartening, so I decided to write about it. Yeah, I understand. But the other nice thing about simple writing is that it puts more weight on the wordplay. Like, I set up for a rhyme at the end, but then I made it fall flat on purpose. It helps bring out feelings in the last line. So you did. I guess more went into it than I realized. Yeah, that's what it means to be a pro. I'm glad you learned something, idiot. Didn't expect that from the youngest one here, did you? Yeah, guess not. I decided to humor her with her last comment. I don't really care how old everyone is, but if Natsuki is feeling proud, then I won't want to take that away from her.
Alright.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Monty. A little bit of Monica in my life. Hi, Shea. Yeah. Yeah. Having a good time so far? Yeah. Good. Glad to hear. By the way, since you're new and everything, if you ever have any suggestions for the club, like new activities, or things we can do better, or maybe bringing back Sayori, I'm always listening. Don't be afraid to bring things up, okay? Alright, I'll keep that in mind. Of course I'll be afraid to bring things up. I'm much better off just going with the flow until I'm more settled. Anyway, want to share your poem with me? It's kind of embarrassing, but I guess I have to. I'm sorry, I just inhaled Ford F-150 fumes. Don't worry, Shea. We're a little embarrassed today, you know. But it's that sort of barrier that we'll all learn to get past. Yeah, that's true. I hand Monica my poem. Great job, Shea. I was going, ooh, in my head while reading it. It's really metaphorical. I'm not sure why, but I didn't expect you to go for something so deep. I guess I underestimated you. It's easiest for me to keep everyone's expectations low. That way, it always counts when I put in some effort. That's not very fair. Well, I guess it worked anyway. You know that Yuri likes this kind of writing, right? Writing that's full of imagery and symbolism. Sometimes I feel like Yuri's mind is just totally detached from reality. I don't mean that. What? I don't mean that like it's a bad thing, though. But sometimes I get the impression that she's just totally given up on people. She spends so much time in her head, or in her own head, that it's probably a much more interesting place for her. But that's why she gets so happy when you treat her with a lot of kindness. I don't think she's used to being indulged like this. She must be really starved. Shut
I
up!
know.
Starved for social interaction, so don't blame her for coming on a little strongly, like earlier. I think if she gets too stimulated, she ends up withdrawing and looking for alone time. Suddenly the door opens. Yuri!
I'm back. Did I miss anything?
Not really. Well, we all started sharing our poems with each other.
Already? I'm sorry for being late.
No need to apologize. We still have plenty of time, so I'm more glad that you took all the time you needed.
Alright. Thanks, Mike. I suppose I should get my poem now.
Anyway, do you want to read my poem now? Don't worry, I'm not very good. You sound pretty confident for someone who claims to be not very good. Well, that's just 'cause I have to sound confident. That doesn't mean I always feel that way, you know. I see. Well, let's read it then. Alright. A hole in the wall. But he wasn't looking at me. Remember, you have to read into these words.
Yeah.
But he wasn't looking at me. Confused, I frantically glanced at my surroundings. But my burned eyes can no longer see color. Are there others in this room? Are they talking? Or are they simply poems on my flat sheets of paper? The sound of frantic scrawling playing tricks on my ears. The room begins to trickle, closing in on me. The air I breathe dissipates before it reaches my lungs. I panic. There must be a way out. It's right. Wow.
What happened?
Thank you. Now I'll never get to hear the end of that poem.
What happened?
You touched it and it went.
But I had
It
to go
continued.
scroll down, and I just touched it like this to make it.
It just takes the slightest touch. The
Okay.
slightest touch. But that's alright.
Okay.
So, what do you think? Well, I didn't get the chance to read all of it. It's very freeform if that's what you call it. Sorry, I'm not really the right person to ask for feedback. It's okay. Yeah, that kind of style has gotten pretty popular nowadays. That is, a lot of poems have been putting emphasis on the timing between words and lines. When performed out loud, it can be really powerful. That was the inspiration behind this one? Well, I'm not sure if I know how to put it. I guess you could say that I had some kind of that word again. Epiphany recently. It's been influencing my poems a bit. Why does this happen to me? An epiphany? Yeah, something like that. I'm kind of nervous to talk about deep stuff like that because it's kind of coming on strongly. Maybe after everyone is better friends with each other. Anyway, here's Monica's writing tip of the day. Sometimes when you're writing a poem or a story, your brain gets too fixated on a specific point. If you try hard to make it perfect, then you'll never make any progress. Just force yourself to get something down on the paper and tidy it up later. Another way to think about it is that... Another way to think about it is this. Oh, I said that right. If you keep your pen in the same spot for too long, you'll just get a big dark puddle of ink. So just move your hand and go with the flow. That's my advice for today. Thanks for listening. This was G105. Alright.
Okay, here we go.
Psycho. As Yuri reached the poem, I noticed her eyes lighten.
Exceptional.
Eh? What was that?
Did I say that out loud?
Yuri first covers her mouth, but then ends up covering her whole face.
He's going to hate me.
Oh my god.
Shut up! God, I don't like her anymore.
Damn. You really didn't do anything wrong, Yuri.
I guess you're right. What am I getting so nervous for?
Yuri takes a breath.
So, what kind of writing experience do you have? Your use of imagery and metaphors indicates you've written a lot of poetry before.
Really? Wow, that's a huge compliment coming from you. This is actually my first time, really.
Huh?
Yuri stares at me blankly, then looks at my poem again.
Well, I know that. I just meant,
Yuri draws off, unable to find an excuse. She traces her finger along the words in the poem as if breaking it down more thoroughly.
Yeah. Okay. This is the reason I was able to tell. It's just that there are specific writing habits that are usually typical of new writers. And having been through that myself, I kind of learned to pick up on them. I think the most noticeable thing I recognize in new writers is that they try to make their style very deliberate. In other words, they tend to pick a writing style separate from the topic matter, and they form-fit the two together. The end result is that both the style and the expressiveness are weakened.
Once Yuri finds her train of thought, it's as if her demeanor totally changes. Her stammering is completely gone, and she sounds like an expert.
Of course, that's not something you can be blamed for. There are so many different skills and techniques that go into writing even a simple poem. Not just finding them and building them, but getting them to work together is probably the most challenging part. It might take you some time, but it all comes with practice and learning by example and trying new things. I also hope that everyone else in the club gives you valuable feedback. Natsuki can be a little bit biased, though.
Don't talk shit.
But she's right, though.
Biased now.
Well, never mind. I shouldn't be talking about people like that. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm not sure if Yuri is apologizing to herself, to me, or to Natsuki. Don't you mind if I read your poem now?
Please do. I'd love to share my thought process behind it.
Yuri smiles dreamingly, as if that's a rare opportunity for her, which itself is kind of funny. After all, isn't this supposed to be a literature club?
That was the light flicker one. A ghost under the light. The tendrils of my hair illuminate beneath the amber glow. Bathe in. It must be this one. The last remaining streetlight to have withstood the test of time. The last yet to be replaced by the sickening blue-green hue of the future. I bathe. Calm, breathing air of the present, but living in the past. The light flickers. And I flicker back.
Interesting.
I'm sorry I have such terrible handwriting.
What? I wasn't thinking that at all.
But it took you so long to read.
That's because I'm dyslexic. Well, I just don't read script very often. I actually think your handwriting is pretty.
Eh? That's a relief.
Also, I liked the poem. Even though it's short, it was really descriptive.
It wasn't too short. I usually write longer poems.
Not at all.
I'm really glad you like it. I'll be honest. Since it's our first time sharing, I wanted to write something a little more mild. Something easy to digest, I suppose.
Are you into ghost, Yuri?
Hugh.
Hugh.
Actually, the story isn't about a ghost at all. I'm gonna start saying Shea. Shea?
No. Really? I must have totally missed the point.
Well, I suppose you did only glance over it, after all. But remember that poets often express their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences in their work.
Oh,
Dang! I usually do more than tell a simple story or paint a picture. In this case, perhaps the subject of the poem is only being symbolically compared to a ghost, lingering in her last remaining place of comfort, unable to let go of the past, and soon to be left with nothing.
That's a lot more solemn, putting it that way. I hadn't even thought of that. That's impressive.
It's nothing really. Yours was impressive too, so...
Nah, I'm dumb. If anything, I could probably learn a thing or two from you.
You think so?
Yeah, of course.
You know, I was really nervous about doing all this, but in the end, I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep doing my best for you, Shea.
Shut up. Me too. Phew. I guess that's everyone. I glance around the room. That was a little more stressful than I anticipated. It's as if everyone is judging me for my mediocre writing.
Ooh.
What? Wow, that threw me off.
I know, that was totally...
It's as if everyone is judging me for my mediocre writing abilities. Even if even if they're just being nice, there's no way my poem can stand up to theirs. This is a literature club after all. I sigh. Oh, you know what's about to happen.
No!
The Natsuki and Yuri fight.
Okay, alright, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess that's what I ended up getting myself into. Across the room, Monica is writing something in her notebook. My eyes land on Yuri and Natsuki. Oh, we about to leave off. We're leaving off here.
Okay.
We're leaving off here.
Okay. Alright, this is Amanda.
And Shea.
Shea. This is Sugar Free Gaming. Bye.
Bye.